Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the mentorpodcast.com. I have with me today Mr. Mark Podolsky. Took me a while to get that one right. He is an expert in land, and a lot of land. And how long have you been at it, Mark?
So I started in 2000.
2000?
And I quit my job in 2001.
Yeah. Don't take long to get enough money to do that, does it?
Yeah.
So you flip land, basically, right?
Yeah. I mean, the way I do it is a little bit different. And Ron, if you want, I can walk you through the exact model so that
Sure.
you and your listeners can replicate it.
That's
so
what I
Ron,
want to hear.
Yeah. So you're in Jacksonville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And let's assume that you own 5 acres of raw land in Colorado.
Right.
And you owe $200 in back taxes.
Yeah.
So you're advertising two important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in Florida, properties in Colorado. And
Right.
Number two, you're financially distressed in some weird way because when we don't pay for our property taxes, we don't value that land in the same way. And as a result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Ron, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax deed or a tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5-acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000. Use easy math. And I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to get me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I'm going to send you an actual offer of $2,500. Now you accept it. Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people are going to accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the parcel. I have to make sure property taxes are only $200. I have to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title, no liens or encumbrances. So I have this whole big property due diligence checklist that I outsourced to my team in Jamaica. Costs about $11. They're connected to an American title company. Now, if I was investing more than, say, $5,000, I would just close traditionally through a title company. But this is only $2,500. I'll take a little risk. So now everything checks out. I send you a check for $2,300. I send the treasurer a check for $200. I own it free and clear. Now, Ron, I'm going to sell this property 30 days or less. I'm going to make it cash flow like a rental home. So I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is?
No.
It's the neighbors. The neighbors.
Oh.
So
yeah, that's
I'm going
the first place I'd go to. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, hey, here's your opportunity. Protect your privacy. Protect your views. Know your neighbor. Oftentimes, the neighbors will buy. Now, if they pass, I'll go to my buyers list. If the buyers list passes, I'll go to a little website maybe you've heard of. It's called Meta or Facebook. Buy, sell groups in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go to the lands. Land.com, LandMoto.com, LandandFarm.com, LandsOfAmerica.com, LandFlip.com, LandCentury.com, LandHub.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell raw land. But the secret is in the pricing. So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment, and then I'm going to make it a car payment. Let's say $297 a month at 9% interest for the next 60 months. So it's a one-time sale. I'm going to get my money out in the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. And now I'm getting $297 a month at 9% interest for the next 60 months. Ron, no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act, all this onerous real estate legislation. So then it's a simple game. Can I create enough land notes where my passive income exceeds my fixed expenses, and then I'm working because I want to, not because I have to?
Got it. Simply buy land and then sell it with owner financing. I got it.
Yeah, it's that simple.
Get a big enough down payment to cover your payment, cost to buy it, right?
That's it.
That's been going on for at least my 42 years, but I don't hear much about it out there anymore. So you actually take title to it, and you don't just flip the land to somebody else for. You must do some of those. Just flip.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll get people who insist on paying cash or they'll pay off their note early, but I don't want cash. I want cash flow, and I really feel like cash flow is the antidote to financial insecurity. So I know that with enough notes,
Yeah.
I'm not always chasing the next deal.
And you're going to get you are going to get enough in interest over that period, way more than you would flipping it for cash.
Correct. Correct.
So you're kind of doing what Ford Motor Company does, and all the rest of them. They make more money financing the vehicles than they do making the vehicles.
100%. And what's really interesting is that we'll get defaults. And because we're using a land contract,
Yeah.
then it lowers our cost basis because we keep the monthly payments, we keep the down payment, and then we resell it at a new lower cost basis. And it really increases our yield and our return on investment.
Yeah. Well, that's tell me then, how do you go? But you do this land all over the country, right?
Well, Ron, let's face it, nobody wakes up and thinks to themselves, boy, I'd like some raw land in Minnesota today, unless you live in Minnesota. So I'm going to focus on the Sunshine States, Southwest, Northwest, California, and Florida. So Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, California,
Wherever there's sun, huh?
wherever there's sun. And then there's parts of the Midwest that are treed, that are beautiful. I'll focus there as well. But I'm going to avoid lots of parts of the country where people don't want to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like Newark, New Jersey.
Exactly, like Newark, New
North
Jersey.
New Jersey, folks.
Yeah.
All right. So do you find all these properties on the websites?
Yeah, so you can go to a website like datatree.com. And if you want to save some money, go datatree.com/the Land Geek. And you can get a list from the county. So there's 3,007 US counties. And you can go to a website called naco.org that will list off all the counties. You can go directly to a county assessor and get a list as well. You might be able to save some money. So you can compare between DataTree and the actual county. But the easiest way to get the list is going to be DataTree. But then the question becomes, what's a good county? And so for the county research, you want to actually go to a site like LandMoto.com and see where are all the deals being done. So imagine you and I are out fishing, and on one part of the lake, there's 10 boats catching fish. And on the other part of the lake, there's 2 boats, and they're not catching any fish. And we have to decide where we're going to go. Well, it feels counterintuitive to be the 11th boat, but we know definitively that they're catching fish. So we want to go to those counties where we know there's a market for raw, undeveloped, inexpensive raw land.
Say that all the time. If you want to catch fish, go where they live. I got 2 ponds that I'm sitting here looking at in my front yard. I say off time to time, I go to Alaska to catch salmon, but I can't catch a single salmon in my ponds in front of my front of the house. All right, so when you pull, I imagine you're just pulling lists of people that have land, are you not, in a particular area you put in?
Yeah, so once you get the list, you get the full property list, people who own real property, and then you're going to scrub that list. You do some data manipulation. And so a quick, easy way to do that is by use code. So say VL for vacant land, and that's going to take out all the residential homes, commercial properties, industrial properties, and that's going to leave you, for the most part, with raw land.
And then you send them a postcard?
I don't send postcards. I actually send them an actual offer letter.
Well, you can do that on a postcard too, but we send out letters with a check showing through the window. Of course, that number is never correct. It's just to get them to call, and it works.
Right,
and
it works.
So you actually put an offer in the letter?
Correct.
And you base that offer on what?
So we base that offer on, we look at this comparable sales, and we divide by 4. We get that 300% margin of safety, and we're looking for a 3 to 5% response rate. So I know that if I have a less than a 3% response rate, I came in too low in that market. But if it's over 5%, I know I came in too high and I have to retrade.
Well, it doesn't really matter. You're just trying to get them to call. That's the only purpose of the letter. And then how you handle the call from there is what's going to make the big difference.
Exactly.
Like our house letter, it ain't never right. Never. And he just made the point. If you come in too low, they won't call you. Better to come in
Right.
too high. And
Better
then
come in
find
too
something
high.
along the way that makes you reduce the offer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Exactly.
profit, for example.
Right.
How many of these have you done, Mark?
So I've done over 6,500 and counting.
6,500 and counting. Wow. That's a lot of deals, man. That's a lot of deals.
Yeah.
So, what's your team look like?
So I've got a team. We have virtual assistants in Jamaica and the Philippines. We have a US based acquisition manager that manages that team. And then we use a lot of software. So we have software on the front end that is like our CRM that handles the offers all the way up to contracts with a purchase sale agreement, promissory note, and land sale contract. So what used to take 20 minutes in paperwork, now you just click a button. And then on the back end, we use software called geekpay.io to manage the notes. So it's a set it and forget it note collection system. So we can get the down payment and then we collect the ACH or the checking account every single month. And it calculates the interest, and the borrowers can log in, see their current balance. They can make a prepayment, because my whole philosophy is I can always make more money. I can't get more time. So I really want to create this passive income machine so I can live my best life.
Do you skip trace the list before you mail to it?
If it's a new list, I won't skip trace until that first batch of mailings. And then when they come back and I get those yellow letters, we'll skip trace the yellow letters.
Do you use yellow letters?
Well, we'll get some bad bad addresses in that data from time to time.
What do you call a yellow letter?
Well, the when it return to sender, it's like yeah.
Uh, so you do or you don't skip trace them?
No, we will skip trace those.
Okay. And that's also, you can get the phone numbers that way as well.
Correct.
Most of them.
Correct.
So then do you have somebody call them?
We don't necessarily call because we don't find it as efficient right now, but we will be using AI to do that in the future.
We all are doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would suggest to you that you have somebody calling them, and then if they don't answer, text them, and a lot of them will respond. People live with text. They go to bed with text. They don't with emails, and they don't answer the phone hardly anymore.
Right.
So got to hit them multiple different ways to get them to respond. We do the same with houses. And somewhere like maybe 25 to 35% of the people we text to actually call us back.
Really?
Yeah. See, now we're not on the web anymore. We don't know who's trying to scam us next. I go something like this. Listen, I've been trying to get a hold of you. I'm interested in buying your house. Could you please give me a call or text me? Starts the relationship slower and non-confrontational. And we get as many deals texting as we do on the first hit. In fact,
fantastic.
How many times do you mail to that same seller?
So we'll mail every 90 days.
Every 90 days?
Yeah.
And you mail postcards or letters?
Letters.
Letters. Okay. Well, the only thing different than you're doing than most of the real estate investors are doing is you're doing land instead of junk houses and terms deals. I do all of the above, and I do a lot of land myself. I'm not a lot, but my different type of deal. I put land under contract, then I close on it, and then I list it with a realtor and raise the price and don't touch it. But they're much larger tracts than you're doing because your whole thing is on smaller tracts, isn't it?
The whole thing is smaller tracks. Absolutely. Now we'll do some larger tracks and we'll subdivide, but our bread and butter is going to be those smaller tracks and more inexpensive property.
I would like for you to do a webinar so you can get deeper into this, and then people can get the idea on how to do it themselves. So my team will be contacting you on that, and we'll set it up and go from there. Because your message is right on. Your message is what people want to hear. And basically, your message is absolutely true when you say make money from your desk at your home without leaving home. That means there's an awful lot of people who can do what you're talking about that can't leave home. Even handicapped people that I love it because there's nothing to go see. Nothing to go
Yeah,
see.
there's no, yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah,
boring and we have very low competition because you're not going
yeah,
to go on HGTV or the DIY network and see flip this land. The
yeah.
before pictures draw land, the after pictures draw land.
And so you pick the state and target the state, and then go on to another state. Are you working one state at a time, or it doesn't matter?
It, it depends on the size. So when I start teaching people how to do this, we want them to do the strategy of pick one county,
Yeah.
right? And then you just work that one county before you really expand out. So at my scale, we're in several different states and several different counties, but I wouldn't recommend that for a newbie. I would recommend one county, become an expert in that county, mine that. Brian, you'd be surprised how many people get bored of making money. And then they're like, I'm bored. I want to go to another county. Like, what? You keep working that county until it's not working anymore,
But
and
do
then go
you
to the
do
next county.
sequential mailing to them?
Correct. Yes, we'll do sequential mailings.
How many pieces?
So the team is mailing most likely uh, maybe 1,000 offers a day. But we're also getting deal flow because of our size. We'll get deal flow from lots of different companies. We'll get spreadsheet deals where we'll have, let's say, a big tax lien hedge fund. They'll come in and they'll say, "We bought these. We didn't mean to buy them. What will you give us?" So we get a lot of non-emotional sellers at our scale. But again, a lot of people who are starting out that don't have that capital, I really recommend 30 offers a day will move the needle for most people.
Which means 30 letters a day.
Exactly, 30 letters a day.
And you put the seller's name in the letter.
Put the seller's name in the letter
Okay.
with their property. It's just an offer
With an offer.
with
Okay.
an offer. And there's a contingency on due diligence should we need to get out.
Why? Why do you need that?
Well, because they're going to say possibly, hey, you made you have a contract.
They can't make you
Yeah.
buy.
They can't make you buy. It's true.
And I'm just saying, I don't put contingencies in any of my offers because what am I going to lose? My $10 deposit.
Yeah.
So, and you
Yeah.
put contingencies in, and that just might deter some of them from buying.
Right.
I used to do that. I'm subject to my grandmother's approval and all that crap. One day I figured it out. Why do I need all that crap? I can back out anyway. With, unless I'm buying out of the MLS and I got to put up $1,000 deposit with a realtor, but that's not where your deals are going to be anyway. Do you even work
Right.
the MLS?
No.
Yeah, I don't blame
No.
you. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's quite a nice machine there. That's called a home-based business. And I assume you teach
Yes.
people how to do it.
Yeah. So I've been doing it for so long that it was more gratifying for me to have somebody say, Mark, you changed my life with this model. Because once people are totally free and they can live their best lives and they can move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs and self-actualization, it's really gratifying for me because when I was just running my own land business, it helped me, it helped my family, and it was
Yeah.
great. But there's nothing like helping other people.
You're preaching to the choir here. People ask me all the time, why are you still doing this? And I say, well, first of all, what would you have me do? Um, I like teaching. I like changing people's lives. What am I going to do if I quit doing that? So I'm semi-retired right now, and it sucks. Okay, gotta have something to do. And this one, I want our listeners to write down. Everybody needs something to look forward to, or it gets real boring real fast. And in fact, I think that's one of the main reasons we have these young criminals out there. They don't have anything to do when they're growing up, so they go out and do mischief, and next thing you know, they turn into criminals, and some of them into really bad criminals. And I can say that by raising children of my own and I have 9 grandchildren and 14 greats, the ones that are doing well are the ones that were busy during their growing up years, and the other ones are just not doing well just because they never done much of anything but live from day to day. So I'm not going to stop buying real estate. I still buy houses and commercial property, and I still buy land, larger chunks. Uh, had several of them this year, cashed out of. But you're doing a whole different thing. You're buying stocks that you can sell to the neighbors or whoever, cheap money, uh, and you finance them. Do you finance
Right.
them? Do you check them out in any way before you finance them, or do you care?
No credit checks. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, I got it. So, what percentage of these people would you say default on your loan?
It depends on the economy. Right now, we're at about a 10% default rate. I would say that when the economy is more recessionary, we're around a 12 to 15% default rate. During the Great Recession, I had a 50% default rate. That was no fun. I write about that in my book, Dirt Rich, and talk about what I went through with that. But I don't think that's going to happen again in my lifetime, but it could happen. And it took a while to really rebalance that portfolio and figure out the new pricing.
You want to swap stories about 2008? I'll keep you busy for a while. I'll make you real feel good about your situation, man. In fact, I had 21 different projects going simultaneously in 9 different states, and most of them were land projects that we were developing. And then the world changed real fast. I don't want to talk about that. That depresses me. Okay,
Yeah,
so you said you sell on land contract, which
correct.
whatever that document is in the state you're working with. So do let's take Florida. You can sell on agreement for deed here, but it doesn't matter. You still got to foreclose. Takes months, costs the same, unlike many other states. So do
Right.
you stay away from the states where it's going to be tough to get them back?
So in Florida and Texas, we have different legal strategies so that
Hmm.
we can work in those states and not have to go through the foreclosure process.
Um, you mean land contract or contract for deed in Texas?
Contract for deeds, yes.
Okay. Well, how long does it take you to get one back on a contract for deed in Texas?
Uh, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
We
Like I
have in
said,
our contract, it's 30 days. If you're in default for 30 days, you have 30 days to cure. And so unless you're going to challenge it, we just work by our contract.
you bribe them out. Better to
Yeah.
bribe them.
Yeah.
Texas happens to be the fastest foreclosure state in the union.
Yeah.
File by the second Tuesday. The sale is the first Tuesday of the next month. But that's after you give them 30 days or whatever. So Texas, they tell me that it's faster to foreclose than it is to evict.
Yeah. I believe it.
Sure not true here in Florida and a lot of
Yeah.
states.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing about land is there's nothing to evict.
Yeah. And there's nothing to maintain. Well, you still have to. Well, you wouldn't do it anyway. You're renting all. You're buying all your property and then selling them. So you're selling it so evictions don't apply. Which brings up another question. How you're selling short-term deals, even though they're long-term to pay you. The IRS calls them short-term, so you don't got to pay maximum taxes as you receive it. And technically, you're a dealer. Have you ever had any problem with the IRS in that concern?
So there is an exemption for raw land in the code. So I learned this the hard way when I would
Never
sell property for $30,000. My accountant would say, "You're a dealer in land. You got to pay the taxes on $30,000." Like, but I've only collected $3,000. They say it doesn't matter. You're a dealer. And so once we did the research, there is an exemption. So I pay on the land contracts as I receive the money on the installments.
No kidding. Huh.
Yeah.
But you still got a short-term capital gain,
But
don't
it's still right. So it's still ordinary income. So there's no tax advantages because we
you? No.
don't get depreciation. Now you could bifurcate your deals where you could say these deals are short-term capital gains. I'm holding this deal a year and a day, and this is more an investment, you could make that argument depending on certain IRS rules and dealer, but it gets complicated. But I would say that if you wanted any tax advantages, you could use a self-directed IRA type of vehicle.
That is true. But let me think. You should say you use a Roth. Let's see, you're paying cash for it though out of the Roth, but you're selling it. So, if the property comes with debt or you create debt, then you're going to get taxed if it just as if it wasn't in your Roth. But you're not creating debt to buy, are you?
We're paying cash.
You're paying cash. That probably would work in a Roth.
No, it works.
Yeah. And then there's a solo 401k where it doesn't matter. There is no UBIT. But that means you have to have an LLC with only husband and wife as employees. Can't have any employees in any other business. So you're screwed on that one. So am I.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, listen, this has been a great talk. I learned a lot of stuff from you today. So what should I have asked you that I didn't?
Yeah, Ron, great question. I learned a lot from you today. Thank you so much for having me. I think you asked a lot of really good questions. I think the question that oftentimes if I'm listening to this and I'm skeptical is, hey, well, if it's so great, why are you teaching it? And so I remember that my first client, Tori, he was on my website and he called me. I was in vacationing in Northern California with my family. And he's like, hey, I want to learn what you do. I said, well, I don't teach it. He said, well, if I pay you this. So, oh, okay, well, hold on. Let me think about this. So I went to my wife and I said, hey, this guy wants me to teach him the land business. And she's like, well, why would you do that? You're going to create your own competition. I said, well, let me put on my investment banking hat and let's just see how big this market is. Yeah. And there's billions of acres of raw land. There's virtually no one doing it. If you go to a real estate investment association meeting, a RIA meeting, and there's 100 people in there, 99 of them are going to be house flippers, landlords, and wholesalers. You and I would be the only land guys. So I started teaching it, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is so much more gratifying than just me making money. And so I think that's a fair question to ask. Is why on earth would you teach this?
Well, how many times do you think I've been asked that question? And I always say, what else would you have me do?
Right.
I still buy houses, and I don't spend 2 hours a week in the house business because I've learned to get out of my own way, which frankly is hard to get people to do than teaching them real estate.
Yeah, and that's really what I want for most people, or actually for everybody, is not to create a job for yourself, create a business of buying and selling raw land, have this passive income machine. But to your point, it's hard, especially when you're coming from a W-2 mentality and you think you have to do everything. It's like, no, you're creating a job for yourself and you're the worst boss.
Especially for us men, Mark, if it's working perfectly, we got to fix it.
Yeah.
We can't possibly, we don't follow instructions. So, I know that I was that way for a lot of years, man. And then I kind of gradually grew into letting other people do the things that I really wasn't very good at anyway, and found out that, I always tell people there's not one thing you do in your business that somebody else can't do for you. Not one, including making the decisions once they're trained. So that served me well anyway over the years. All right. I don't have anything else to ask you. So any final words that you want to give our listeners today?
Yeah, Ron, what I'll do is I'll give you a link. And for the listeners that are interested in learning more, I'll give your listeners a link to get Dirt Rich for free. Just pay shipping. And that way it's a book and they can hear my story, get more detail on the model. And if it resonates them and they want to go deeper, that's a way to do it.
Well, frankly, I don't know why it wouldn't resonate with them because they're out there supposedly buying houses. This is so much easier. Don't have to leave the house, but it's not a replacement. It's an addition to what they're currently doing. You should be doing it all, especially if you're creating passive income which I think is way more important than the upfront cash, because passive income is the only way you're ever going to feel like you're ready to retire. And it's your income that makes you feel like you're rich, not what equity you got in properties.
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. And so, rich is having a lot of income, but wealth is when you can make money in your sleep and you're not the one that has to do it.
That's correct. All right. Well, I want to thank you, sir. And Debbie will be in touch. Maybe we can set up a webinar in the not too distant future so we can get this message out to more people than are watching us today.
I love it. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate you.
Thank you. See you soon.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.